But yeah, obviously the 2 and 3, it was kind of people saying, you're not actually quite on the team yet, James. And I'm like, I would do a swear word there, but I'm not going to do it. But there was a bit of doubt in my head of thinking, like, you're not on the team yet. This is obviously, I knew I was going to have a great 2 and 3. That was always going to happen. But there was a bit of doubt there of that, like, that little impulse at the back of my brain thinking you're not on the team. But then I also thought I could have won. Then I also thought I could have won the 2 and 3.
Dan, this is one of the most requested episodes of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast that is coming at people today. We have the one and only James Guy on to talk to everyone.
Do you know what? It amazes me that we're on around 190 odd episodes, and we
195.
We haven't yet had Jimmy on the podcast. I mean, it's about time we've had him on, seeing as though he's been part of Team GB for the best part of a decade, 10 years,
and more.
Yeah, more. Yeah, I mean, he's a true icon of swimming in this country, and he will be on his way to his 3rd Olympic Games this summer in Paris.
Look, he doesn't really need an introduction to our guests, but in case you don't know, James Guy is a multiple Olympic medalist. He is a multiple world medalist. He is an Olympic champion, a world champion. He is one of the greatest relay swimmers Great Britain has ever produced, maybe in fact in the world, rivaling the great Michael Phelps. He has been a stalwart for British swimming, now Aquatics GB, but we'll say British swimming in this aspect, for the best part, like Dan said, for 12 years or even more. So, please welcome everyone, James Guy. James, thank you for joining us this week. How are things with you?
Oh, thanks for having us. Yeah, things are pretty good. Back into the graph now. I had a few days off after the trials last week. I swam Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Went to Mallorca for a few days to look at my wedding venue, which was quite nice. Tried all the food, which was amazing, and nice to have a quick breakaway and kind of reset after probably quite an intense week. You kind of have to have that kind of reset button of just doing that. Even though it's not the major meet of the year, you start to have that little breakaway of doing a bit of personal things you want to do or some hobbies. I think that's really, really important to have that. So apart from that, we're kind of straight back into it. I've had a few key sets this week, and yeah, I'm still in a pretty good place, if I'm honest with you. Yeah, all good.
I mean, planning a wedding can be pretty stressful as well. Like,
yeah,
especially
that's not entirely time off.
No, it's kind of nice because my partner, she's with that kind of stuff, she does it for work, so she's very kind of direct to the point.
Nice.
Okay.
I was back to back, and I'm kind of having my ideas put in as well. But with that kind of aspect, the people who we've been abroad with are very, very nice, very quick with responses. And when we saw it for the first time, we actually booked it before we'd even seen it. So when we saw it, we were like, "Wow, this is it!" straight away. So it kind of put our mind at ease of this is what we want to do, and I'd rather kind of get it done rather than leave it last minute, because obviously you don't want to be panicking the last few months of getting it all right. So apart from that, it's all been quite smooth so far.
Nice.
Very good.
I guess the first kind of swimming place to start then is like, congratulations on a 3rd Olympic Games. What does it mean for you to go to yet another Olympics?
I think with the terms of Olympics, I don't actually think of it at the start of the week. I never thought I was qualifying for my 3rd Olympics. It was kind of, what do I need to do to kind of put myself out there for medal contention? But when you kind of back at it and you actually, you're going to your 3rd Olympic Games, it's actually quite a nice feeling. But I never saw it as that at the start of the week. And I never saw it as trying to qualify for my games for the 3rd one. It was all about what can I do to get the best swims out there. And sometimes you don't really take it for granted. Of like, people have worked their whole life to kind of get into this position. You've worked your backside off for 3 or 4 years, and you don't have the swim you want, and then you're not going. So to be in that position, it's horrible, But it was nice to kind of get the qualification done on the last day. But yeah, it's kind of nice to say that I'm going to my 3rd Olympics, and as a kid, this is what we dream of doing, especially in swimming. It's the biggest thing we can do, I think, for any Olympic sport. But to go to the 3rd one is with the same guys who I went into Rio with, Duncan, Ben Proud, Adam. It's we've come a long way since then. We've only been like 19, 20, 21. We're all, especially me and stuff. Adam's got a kid. I'm getting married. Like, how times have changed since then. But yeah, it's quite nice to say that I'm going to my 3rd one, which is, pretty cool.
What's the secret to that longevity then? Because it's been the best part, or actually, I think it has been 10 years. So, is there a secret to it?
I think, especially with swimming, you have to enjoy it at the end of the day. it's not an easy sport. We put our bodies through hell every single day. It's kind of like boxing. The work we do is, I don't think it's very normal. You pound yourself up and down twice a day, 4 or 5 days a week. It's especially in the morning when it's dark and it's cold. It's hardly enjoyable, that kind of, doing that. But I think the love I have for it is something that I'll always do. I love training. I love competing against the best guys in the world. Like it's like when I was 9 or 10 years old, that kind of feeling of getting a PB. It's something that you can't really compare to anything else, in my opinion, especially in swimming. It's literally it's the best feeling in the world. They always say happiness is swimming fast. So I really enjoy what I do. I love trying to find ways of getting better. I think that's why I'm still here today, to be honest with you.
It's got to be nice to have a few PBs to your name this year as well, then, if that's what
Yeah,
you're
of
saying.
course. I feel like everyone thinks as you get older, it gets harder to PB. Especially the young ones out there, they can probably train this much and PB by that much, where we're, the complete opposite. But it just shows, I'm 28. Obviously the few events, especially last week, was the PB on the 100 free. I don't really do any work for that. The 200 free as fast as I've been for 7 or 8 years. But this old age thing is not really, it's a bit of a myth. It's such an old school mentality of, you're getting old now, I'm like, well, how's that happened then last week of the time I've just done? So for me, it kind of shows that you have to do the right work to get where you want to go.
So what was the reasoning before the 100 free? Because you did race it at Bucks and you raced it as your first event at Trials. Was that to lead into like this early speed for the 200? Was that kind of the aim?
No, not really, mate. It was just to see what I could go. As I said before, like I don't do any 100 work, freestyle work at all. In training, it's always I'll put if I do any speed, it'll always be fly. But it's just to see what I could go. I feel like my freestyle's in a really good place. It's definitely moved on a lot over the last few years, especially to where I am now. It's just kind of leap and bounds better where it was. I just thought, try and throw my name into the mixer. Obviously made the final from the morning swim. I think I could have dropped another 0.3, maybe 0.4 potentially. And I just thought, I kind of made my point of what I wanted to do. I never was going to swim the final. That was never part of my plan. It was just to kind of do the heat, throw it out there, see what I could go, especially for Bucks as well. So yeah, and that was the main reason behind it. Really, there's nothing else to it.
Okay.
With the 200 being the last race and the way you qualify for the Olympics, I was going to ask, was it nervous waiting that long for the meet to go along, knowing that you aren't quite qualified yet? But you started in the intro by saying it was kind of a short-term mindset. You were just looking at medaling.
Yeah.
So heading into that final race, I'm guessing the nerves weren't quite on the table in terms of Olympics.
Yeah, it was weird because it was like, usually obviously I qualify at the start of the week if it's like a 400 free, or well, 2016 was the 400 free day one on the team. It was a 200 fly a couple of years ago, 155.2 on the team straight away. So obviously 100 fly didn't go to plan at all. Raced it completely wrong and just swam it like an age grouper. But yeah, obviously the 200 free, it was kind of people saying, you're not actually quite on the team yet, James. And I'm like, I would do a swear word there, but I'm not going to do it. But there was a bit of doubt in my head of thinking, like, you're not on the team yet. This is obviously, I knew I was going to have a great 200 free. That was always going to happen. But there was a bit of doubt there of that, like, that little impulse at the back of my brain thinking you're not on the team. But then I also thought I could have won. Then I also thought I could have won the 200 free. But obviously, when it was all said and done, obviously trying to qualify, that kind of relief of pressure is nice. But yeah, I would say on the last day there was a little bit of like inkling nerve. You're not on the team yet, so the mindset did change a little bit towards the end of the meet.
Well, if we dive deeper into the 200 free then, because as a spectator and as a fan, leaving a 200 free as the final event on the final day is incredible, right? But as a swimmer who's racing the event, what's it like for you?
I mean, they changed it. So 2013. So what they used to do was years ago was 2013, 2014, like earlier as well. The 200 free, they'd follow like a World Olympic schedule, so it'd be like 200 free day two, 200 free day two, and then 2015 they put it on the last day. 2016 it was the last day. 17 last day. 18. It's kind of like the showcase event of what I would say the British swimming guys do. The powers that be above. It's great because it's like everyone talks about it. It's a great race to watch. But to be honest with you, like I knew that it was going to be probably this probably 6 guys in it of that who I thought they would be there. But before the call room, like in the final call room, it's always quite chilled. I think the 100 free was quite tense from what I heard. But the 200 free was like, we're always cracking jokes. We've been in that position so many times before. Like Dino's just saying a few jokes, Duncan, myself, Matt. Like at the end of the day, we're all friends outside the pool. Like I talk to Duncan daily, I see Matt daily, I play golf with Dina around the corner. Like it's
Mm.
never ever personal. But at the end of the day, you want to beat everyone, and that's just the way
Mm.
it is for that minute and 45 of racing. You don't want to lose. But yeah, I feel like it was quite a chill call room, and I think it's quite nice to have that memories of those guys where we've been, especially myself and Duncan, we've been doing it since 2015, 2014 in the finals together, doing the 2 and 3 together.
Mm.
So, doing it again 10 years later is still, quite nice. But yeah, it was quite a relaxed environment. I really enjoyed it. And it's just kind of go out there, do your race plan, and, you get what you get.
Mm.
Nice and relaxed despite taking a little bit too much caffeine beforehand.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
think
spoke to us
so.
after.
Yeah. A little bit. I was not to make any excuses because I would never do that, but I think I had the Morton gel as well a little bit too late and a bit too much caffeine. I could feel my stomach cramping a little bit. So I was like, oh no, don't do this, don't do this. But sometimes you have to just block it out because when you dive in and you start swimming, it just completely goes.
Yeah.
But it's that initial kind of you walking out and you start your arms start tingling, your stomach starts a bit crampy. But it's something you kind of realise that when you go to the next one, you don't have to have that extra coffee or might do the Morton gel a bit later on, or sorry, a bit earlier. But yeah, that was something for me that was once I dived in, that kind of went out the window. It was completely fine. So, but yeah, it's kind of weird to dive in with that kind of feeling of my stomach's cramping here. It's not quite nice.
Yeah,
With
that
it.
can't be
So
comfortable at all.
you're still learning tricks despite third Olympic
Yeah.
team. Like it's still
Yeah,
amazing
I think
to see.
as you get older, you start to kind of digest more about how your swims. Like, I think myself and Adam in that aspect of, when he went 56.9, there was a way of doing it. He did it, and he's also, I think he's finding that way to do it again. You kind of forget how you did it. Like for me, going at a certain time is like, how did you actually do it? Well, this is what you did. This is how we trained to do it. You kind of got to get back there. Sometimes you kind of you look at all the bad moments, but actually look at the good things and like, what did you do to get to that position of and that time? And I feel like, the top coaches will always do it as in like, they'll look at it and go, well, this was really, really good. Because usually you swim and you celebrate and you kind of forget of how you actually swam the race. And I feel like now we're kind of looking back of like, how did you do that? Okay, these are the rates. This is what we did. This is the prep beforehand, what we did for it. Let's do it again. So it's kind of learning. It's like again learning how to swim fast. Are you at the right rate? This is what really works well. This is where you're most efficient. Do that. Because sometimes you just kind of forget and take it for granted a little bit, I think.
Have you looked back at the race and analysed it and taken away bits and pieces where it went well and what didn't go well?
Yeah. So I feel like this is kind of a really thing that after the race, it kind of people were saying to me, you took it out. You was a very, very, very brave swim. It was very gutsy. And I'm like, hang on a minute. This was like, I know my freestyle's in a really good place. This was the plan from the start. Because I'm a lot fitter aerobically, like, than I ever have been before. I was 50.5 at the 100, 117.5. And for me, that was always a part of the race plan. That's what we trained to do. I'm generally a lot fitter. So I knew that I could do that. And that's what I've been training for, especially at the pool. And for me, I faded the last kind of 20 meters. That's where it started to burn a little bit. But yeah, I feel like, it just showed that my stroke looked great. Also, my stroke counts were really low. Technically, I didn't really fall apart. Like I didn't start swinging. So in my head, I'm like, right, okay, I've now got another 12 weeks of work to kind of get that back end right and go the 144 that, I would love to do. It just shows for me that what I'm doing right now in the pool is clearly working. So it was a massive confidence booster in that aspect. But the race plan, the splits, the tactics, the way I swam it was perfect, probably apart from the last 25 meters where it started to burn. But yeah, I was really happy with the swim. I couldn't, in terms of like probably turn execution, could have been faster around the walls. Off the wall was really good. Underwaters were pretty good. Didn't breathe the first stroke. So all these little things you can think about where that was perfect, that was perfect. But you can just see the last 20 meters where it started, the arm started to go a little bit. I think that's where it probably kind of caught me a little and went past me, especially Matt and Duncan and Dina were just going past. And for me, it's getting that part right, and the rest of the race will take care of itself, I think.
You have always been the swimmer to take it out from the gun. Like that has been your tactic, no matter the race, whether it's 2, 3,
200 fly as well.
two fly. Like Why is that the tactic that you turn to? Because I know Ian Thorpe a while ago said like 200 free swam wrong. Like people should
Yeah,
just sprint that from the gun.
yeah, and I
Like
feel
what?
like I think there was a bit of a thing where probably 2018, 19, I just didn't have any confidence in what I was doing. And like that for me was just to try and take it out from the start and try and hold on as much as I could do. Where like now and the last few years, it's kind of been a bit more cautious of how you swim. You don't want to fade away the last, half of the race. Where you look at any 200 freestyle now, probably apart from Duncan in 2021, he was out 51, I think mid to high.
Yeah.
Most of these guys now, especially Popovici in 20 when he did that 142, is out 50 point mid to low. Um, and I feel like for me, because I have that easy speed, 50 point mid to high is probably where it should be. I feel like there's a certain point where you can only come back so fast. I think Popovici went 145.1 at the Nationals last week, but he was at 51.9.
Mm.
And he came out 26.2. But how fast can you come back? There's a
Yeah.
certain point where you're going out easy, so you're going out comfortable, like fast, but are you going out hard, and it's going to burn the last kind of 50 or 75 or so. On that subject again in 2017, me and Duncan was both kills us. We did the 200 free at the World Championships. I was first going into the final, and he was second, and we both messed it up. I went out too hard, like as in hard, not easy speed, hard. And he went out too slow, and I should have gone 144. I backed off in the semi final, but you learn these things about. It was a real pinpoint of what's easy speed and what's going out too hard. And I feel like now I've kind of found that a bit of, I've never gone out 50.5 since 2017, and I went 145.5 in at the world final, and that was just too hard. Where last week it felt quite comfortable, so it just shows the kind of place that I'm in now. But yeah, even the 200 fly, going out in 24 high, 53 low, 122, that always felt quite comfortable. The last 50 would really start to hurt, and for me, I think I didn't do enough endurance work on that fly, just to kind of have that back end. I'd love to give a 200 fly a go now, but it's kind of managing, like it does take a lot out of you, because at the end of the day, you have to do a heat, you have to hit the heat hard, do the semi, go all in the semi, and then do the final, and then try and do 100 after that the next day. It does take a little bit out of you, and is it really worth kind of risking that for the 100? So
Well, let's stick with fly for now then, because we've got to talk about the 100.
Yeah.
What happened? Because I think most of the pool were off their best. I'm not quite sure what happened.
I think for the 100, apart from Joe and Josh who hit PBs, I think everyone else, it was a bit of a disaster, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Obviously in the morning, Jacob, had a good swim. I went 52.2 in the morning, and I felt like I was doing a 200 fly, like literally just floating. Like didn't really, came back 27.8, 27.7. I was like, I've got a good second off that tonight, if not a bit more. And I just was like, I need to take it out a bit hard, or go out a bit harder. But I was like 24.3 in the morning. I tried to go out a bit harder at night, but it literally, like that kind of 0.3 harder, like just rattle it from the off. Where in the morning, going that 0.3 a bit easier, it just killed me. I had no back end, I had no turn. And for me, having that kind of 400 engine, if I even remotely try too hard the first half, not having that easy speed, it will kill the back half of the race. And I think that was the problem. And I knew as soon as I probably got to the 60-meter mark, I was like, this is done. I knew that I wasn't moving past people. I couldn't I couldn't hold the water. My arms started to tie. But even though the stroke didn't completely fall apart, I had no power. I had no catch position where I could kind of really push the water behind me. It just shows you that most of them, like look at the Phelps way of doing it. He would literally float the first 50 and then hammer the back 50. Milak would be the same. There's probably Dressel that can go out really, really quick, but then come back in a 26 high. But no one's going to go out in 23.1. It's just not going to happen. So for me, it's kind of really kind of coming back as fast as you can the back 50, because I know I have the engine for that. But if you go overcook that first half too much, it's game over. And I think that's what I did completely, to be honest with you, because 51.7 to win the 100 fly champs was like I've done that at Mare Nostrum. No disrespect to Joe, but it was a great swim for him, and he's a good lad. But I feel like I can definitely go a lot faster than that when I get it right.
It was a really weird atmosphere on poolside, like before and after. I think everyone was a bit confused what happened.
Yeah. I think Joe's done a great race. He got it right, and fair play to the lad. He beat us all, but I feel sorry for Jacob, obviously, because of that swim. He's not going to the Olympics now, which is it's devastating. You work your backside off for years and years, and then you don't get the place where you want to go. You submit wrong for 51 seconds, and it's really cost him. But I think all these things happen for a reason. It's definitely made me realise, right, this is how you need to submit. Like, you can't do that again, especially if I want to be part of the the relays in summer. I can't do it like that. Otherwise, I'll let the whole team down. I'll let the bloody country down. So I don't want that to happen. But you live and you learn. And for me, even to this day, you still learn about yourself, about what really works for you and what doesn't. And I feel like for me, there's a certain way I have to do it, and the way I did it at trials is not the way at all.
You kind of teed up nicely there. Is there any indication that the fly is part of your Olympic schedule, or is that too early doors? Do you have to prove yourself again, almost?
I don't think I have to prove myself again. I think I'll do obviously a few more 100 flies at the next few meets, but because I got the A time from last year at the Worlds, I can still do it at the Olympics. But there's no point me doing it individually if I'm going to go 51.6, because it's not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
But I still feel like, I know I'm very good in relays. I'm very, very confident. I'm very reliable. I'm very confident. I know I can roll 50 point mid to low. I find that's where I come into my own sometimes, because, a lot of the guys kind of feel that pressure of being part of the team, but I really thrive in that. I feel like he's doing it for the boys or the mixed medley. I'm a real racer when it comes to that stuff. So no, in that part, I am very, very reliable. But I kind of have to prove myself to show that I can do a 100 fly properly. And I think I will the next kind of month or so.
What was the reason for this? Is going back a number of years now, but you took the 400 free out of your racing schedule and then brought the 100 fly in. What was the reason for that?
So basically, when I was younger, I was a bit of a flyer. I did it at 16, didn't do it at 17 because the freestyle just took off. So I was a flyer from like 11, won nationals at 11 years old. So I've always been quite a good age grouper. So when I was 11, 12 and 13, I was medaling at nationals, 200 fly. 14, just off the medals. 15, won it again, won the 100. But I was doing like 4 and IM, 2 and IM, like doing everything, which I always think what you should do as an age grouper. And then 16, my freestyle just went boom, and it was like, I think I set the British record today for the 400 free. The 100 fly, I went 54 point, did the 4 and IM. So it was just doing everything. And then the year after that, it was the British champs, and I qualified for my first World. So I was 17, and I went. What did I do? I went 347 and 147, and I just stopped doing the fly. And then 2014 Commonwealth trials, I did the 100 fly for a bit of a laugh. Like, I just didn't really care. Ended up winning it, and I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't expecting it at all, because I didn't do any butterfly work. 2015 didn't do it, like, just wasn't part of my schedule. And then it was the last day of the Worlds in Kazan, and was still doing the 400 free, got second at the Worlds, good swim. And the last day, Bill said to me, the head coach, was like, "You're doing the fly on the medley relay," and I was like, I haven't done any flying for a long time, but I knew I could do it. I knew how to race it, like just kind of control and just lever the back 50. So that's where it kind of came into its aura, really. So 2016, we're still doing both of them. Did the 100 fly, won at the trials, did it at the Olympics, dropped 51.6 for the first time, 51.8 maybe, I don't know what it was. 2017, we're still doing both. And that's when it kind of went 51 mid to low, 51.1, 50.6, and I was like, wow, it's just dropped a lot. And the 400 free was not quite where it was going. It was like 344, just stuck on that 344, 343, 345 even. Excuse me. And I had to kind of make a call. I was like, the 100 fly is a lot easier to train for than a 400 free. So at the Commonwealth Games the year after, I went 345, and that was my last 400 I did. And the 100 fly, I got second. Chad Leclerc beat me, but he was firing that, mate. He was doing really well. And then, that's where I just started doing more the 100 fly, really, especially in Tokyo. Obviously, didn't do the individual, but my splits were amazing. I feel like I could have got the bronze individually. I think that's kind of what people have said, and I feel like I could have done that.
Yeah.
But ever since then, it's, I think I will do a 4 and a 3 again. I think I might do it at Set a Collie because I know that endurance wise, aerobically, I'm probably the best I've ever been. And I think that's something I want to see what I can go. Why not? Same as the 100 free. But I still think I could go a decent time on the 400 if I was rested. I really do.
Decent in terms of like you see what the Aussies have done this last week
Yeah.
over there, which is just nuts.
It's
Crazy.
classic. It's good.
341s.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, fair play to the lads. But then I saw the 200 and I was like, not quite as
Yeah,
good.
yeah, no, I get that.
But no,
Absolutely.
them 341s are brilliant swims. But I look at it and think I break it down, and for me going out in 149, it's not. I don't think it's that hard. It's more the endurance side of things of holding your stroke, keeping power onto the water, being efficient, and holding that kind of like comfortable rate of going the same time and of coming back in 152. And that is, that's the 341 there. It sounds very, very easy, but it's definitely a lot harder than that. But no, they were quality swims, and they're good boys as well. They're good lads.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, all of this performance over the past 6 months or so has come off the back of your move to Millfield.
Yes.
Which some might say is a little bit of a risk in Olympic year, leaving the known quantity of Bath and the success that Dave McNulty's had over his coaching career.
Yeah.
So why the move? Or actually, even was it a risk for you?
I don't think it was a risk at all. But I knew I wasn't going to swim any worse. I wasn't swimming bad, but it wasn't swimming the way I should have been swimming. I even after the meet, I spoke to Dino. And I was like, "Something's not working." He's like, "Yeah, something needs to change," because I was just getting like, I felt like I was dying on the 100 fly. My freestyle was nowhere near where it should be. And it was just like the gap between the fastest lads in Britain and me was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, I literally do in the pool everything I can to be the best in the world. Like I always give 100%. I know I'm a great trainer. I work my backside off. I always have done. I always will do. But something for me wasn't clicking. As in, like I wasn't getting the results that I wanted to get. And I remember in Reims beforehand, we went to test out what it was like our holding camp for this year, and I literally couldn't swim. We were doing 10 300s, and I was at the back of the lane, I almost being lapped by Dino. I couldn't swim. And I was like, something's not right here. It's just not. And it just knocked my confidence completely. And like from then on, obviously see him doing, Matt swimming really well at Millfield, my home program. I was like, well, I started having doubts about what I was doing. And when you start having doubts about what you're doing, you start questioning yourself and thinking, and you're not seeing the results you want to receive, but you did everything right. You start putting things into your head and thinking, well, clearly it's not working anymore. I was 27, and there's no way in hell I shouldn't. I should be where I'm not where I should be. So, I made the call after the Worlds. I parked my performances, and I was like, okay, something needs to change here. And I spoke to the guys at Millfield. Ewan's my old youth coach. Like a big brother to me. Love him to bits. And I had a chat with Ryan, and from then on we kind of said, okay, well, this is it. I want to make a move. And for me, and as anyone will tell you, Olympic year is leaving no stone unturned, making sure you've done everything you can do to get it right for Olympic year. And I didn't want to have that look back of like 10, 15 years time of like, what if I didn't move? What if I did move? What if I didn't move? And having that thing of like not trying. So I was at Bath under Dave for 3 or 4 years, and he's a brilliant guy. He's a great coach, but I wanted that violent change of scenery. And I was just much happier being when I moved. I still live in Bath, I still commute every day, but it wasn't really a risk, I'd say, because I knew that it would work. And obviously Ewan's there, my old youth coach, and he's there on poolside coaching me. Ryan's delivering the sessions. I knew that I was going to swim well. I knew after a couple of weeks, really.
So what's changed in the training? Has it been more sort of physical changes, or is it more mental?
I'd say a bit of both. I'm definitely a lot happier where I'm training now. But I think I'm just a lot fitter aerobically, and for me, I grew up training for the 400, and for me, that's what I was always doing years and years ago, having a big engine, very good aerobically. And I think for me, that's made the difference is just doing that. I don't want to dive into too much detail on it, but I think just generally across the board is that I'm much fitter than I was. I'm recovering quicker. And I think now I'm a lot more aerobically better. I'm holding much more water. I can kind of maintain my stroke when I'm swimming. When I'm getting tired, I don't start swinging and start fighting it. But yeah, I just say I think like yeah, I'm much fitter than I was, and I think that's made the difference really.
I've heard the technical feedback that Ryan gives as well is just nuts. I think
Yeah, I
the
think
last like 5 meters of Matt's 100 free, he had like five freeze frames and was scribbling all over it apparently in a
yeah,
meeting.
I think with that, Ryan, the way he looks at things, he's very into detail, and for me, having an answer why we're doing stuff, this is what we're doing it for. And why we're working on this, why I have to do that, and why Matt does this is like we're completely different people. Matt is, he's an amazing swimmer. He's so fast, but we literally couldn't do more polar opposite stuff in the pool. And that's for me this is what I need to do to get better. You're doing this, and you're doing that, and that's it. It's we grew up doing different things, and I think that's what makes me who I am. That's what makes him who he is. So yeah, it's definitely different, but yeah, it's something's good.
Do you get a kind of full circle kind of feeling having started at Millfield and now being back at Millfield again?
Yeah, it's quite strange because I said this before. I was like, I learned to swim in Manchester, and then obviously went to Millfield, went to Bath, gone back to Millfield, and then obviously it's quite strange, really. So yeah, being back there is definitely different. It's nice to see that my names and the school records are still there. I think they'll be there. Quite nice. Yeah, they're still there, which is cool. But yeah, it's nice to see old teachers around now and again. But for me, I still go to a friend's house on the day, one of my best friends. So rather than come back to Bath, I don't have to, drive half an hour there, drive 45 minutes back because the traffic's bad. I can literally stay at his in the day, have a nap, have some food, go training again in the afternoon, then just drive home. So it's quite nice to have that there, which is definitely a lot easier for me and the commute really.
And you don't have to give up living in Bath as well. Lovely city.
No, exactly. And I don't think my Courtney would do that either. She was like, I'm not moving to street. I was like, no, we're not moving to street. So quite nice for her as well because we're literally 5 minutes from town, so we can, even if I come back, if like I only do 2 doubles a week, so on a Wednesday and the weekends, if she's works from home, at lunchtime we go town, it's 5 minutes away, so we can get coffee, get lunch, and Bath's beautiful. A great place to live, and we've grown to love it. When we first came down, I was like, I don't like it. It's not enough going on, but very nice place to live. It is.
It's a bit different from Manchester, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot different from Manchester. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Now, you've already spoken on this podcast that you love to swim the relays and swimming for the team and the country. Now, we've openly said you're one of the best relay swimmers, certainly of this country, maybe even of the world. Is that something that you take pride in?
I think so. I mean, I don't really see it as. I never see it as like a. I know, like in terms of medal tallies and across the world, I think I've made the most finals in relays in the world in history, or I think I'm like one behind Phelps. There was a stat on SwimSwam somewhere, and I found it, and it was literally like Phelps, me, Lochte, which I thought was really cool. Because I've been around for so long and been part of it. But yeah, I just feel like the relays are fun. It's definitely more fun than the individuals. It's like you're being around with the lads. You win on the podium with your best mates. Like I remember when we won the mixed medley. And having Adam next to me. One of my best men for my wedding. And I'm like, you're Olympic champions with one of your best mates. This is that rarely happens. So, but yeah, I've always I feel very relaxed in the relays. I've always known that I'm very reliable. I never bottled a relay before. I feel like people, they know that I'm good in them, and I can literally I've proven before when I haven't had great individuals, I've just become a different animal in the pool. Hunt people down, take it out, and it's worked well for British swimming, I think.
Just a little bit.
Is it a hard call for you? So, like you in Tokyo, you had your opportunity to win gold in the mixed medley, but then pull out of the 100 fly. Is that ever a difficult decision for you?
Well, I didn't have the choice, unfortunately. That was the problem.
Oh, right.
Okay.
No, that's all right. No, so the problem was having that being pulled out of my event. that really took a toll on me. You asked Tom Dean. My head was completely gone for a long time, and it really took me a long time to get over it because I knew I could have got a medal in that 100 fly. But the problem is that we thought that we could take down America on the last day of the medley relay. So they were saying, because obviously, they didn't want to put Jacob in because his individual wasn't great. So British swimming don't take any risks. That's what they're one thing they're good at. They won't take any risk. Why would you risk not being in the final or not getting a medal? So they said to me, if I had done the individual 100 fly, it would have been the mixed medley heat, the final, the 100 fly individual, the 100 fly semi final, and then the medley heat, medley final. So it was 7 100. So it's, can I be on my absolute best for that last day to try and take America down for the medley relay? And that was their question. And unfortunately we still didn't. Even after gone 49.9, we still wouldn't have won it. So that kind of, it haunted me for quite a while, but I've got over it now. But at the time, you don't think about it because I knew my fly was really firing. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't really have a choice, which is a bit of a shame.
I mean, it can also be sacrificial in the fact that, like, people like us say you're the best relay swimmer ever, and then some people forget like the individual success that you've seen as well, which is kind of not fair on you as the swimmer. So it is a really selfless kind of role to take within British swimming, even if, like you just said, you didn't have a choice.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a weird
direction.
One. Yeah, no, it's interesting. It is really interesting. But for me, I was, for individual stuff is like, obviously winning that 200 freestyle in 2015, first male to do it, that was a long time ago, but at the end of the day, no one else can take that away from you. You've been a world champion, you'll always be a world champion. I think people don't realise, like, World Olympics, to win it individually is hard. It's really, really hard. And then to do it again is even harder. So it just shows you how good, obviously, how good Adam is. To repeatedly do that back to back, and people forget that. But for me, I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I know that if I get my individuals, times right, for example, even the 200 free at the trials, that 145.2 is getting top two in any of the nation across the world. It is, and that's just the way. But unfortunately, I think setting the trend off years ago of moving the 200 freestyle on, they're faster now, which is quite nice to see. But it just shows that I know that I'm in the mix, generally to put up a good swim. And I think, like, now moving forward, I think that race is just going to get tighter and tighter and tighter across, us 4 or 5 lads in Britain. But even the individual success, I've, medal to say that I've, medal in the 400 freestyle at World Championships, to win the 200 free, to medal in 3 different events. For me, it's something that I always never thought I'd do when I was young. And then obviously relay success, we've won everything. So yeah, I think so far I've had a pretty good career.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've just listed a load of ups in your career, but you've had a few downs in your career as well. And I know you like motivating and inspiring the next generation of swimmers coming through. But
Yes.
what would your best advice be to these younger swimmers who have aspirations of reaching, let's say, any level in the sport of swimming?
My advice to you guys would be just to enjoy what you do. Don't take things too seriously. Like, I think one thing we forget is that, let's say you have a bad swim. You might get upset, you might cry, whatever it is. At the end of the day, the only person that really cares is yourself, probably mum and dad, guardians, parents, whatever, whom it may be. But the world will keep going round. It's not going to stop. The world's not going to stop. There's a lot more to life than not getting a personal best time. And for me, I don't see myself as, right now I'm swimming, but there's a lot more to it than that. I'm getting married. I've got things lined up after swimming, and this is a part of my life that, I'm, very thankful for. But you guys coming up now is about just enjoying it. Work hard because, that's the way you're going to get the results, but also enjoy it as well, because once it's gone and that shelf life's gone, and you want to finish, you can't do it again. So make sure you have no regrets, in your career, because that's the last thing you want, is to think, I wish I trained harder. Make sure you do everything you can to be the best you can be, and have no regrets, and enjoy it, because once it's gone, it's gone.
Jimmy, that's a very nice place to end the majority of this podcast. We finish always with some quick fire questions.
Go for it.
So our guests can get to know you a little bit better away from the swim pool as well in some aspects.
All right.
What's your favourite event in swimming?
Favourite event in swimming, probably the 200 free.
who is your swimming idol?
Well, here we go. This is going to get tasty because in 2012 it was Sun Yang. It was. Then obviously it came out as a drug cheat, and then I beat him a few years after. That was quite nice. Well, I got his cap from 2013, and this is before it all came out as what he did. And I have it down. I have it in the garage somewhere. I should have put it in the bin a long time ago. But in terms of swimming heroes, I always liked Ian Thorpe. I think when I was really, really young, the torpedo doing the big body suit, he was special. And the times he did back then, 20 years ago, he'd win now. So it's probably Ian Thorpe back in the day. Yeah.
Nice. What's your proudest moment in swimming?
Proudest moment in swimming, probably winning the 200 freestyle when I was 19 and beating the field that was in that final was. It was massive. Obviously, to beat Sun Yang, Ryan Lochte to race Lochte was amazing. People you've watched for years. Paul Beeman, world record holder. Chandler Close in there. It's just something that you never dream of. And then to race them and beat them is just like wow. But I'd say that. Yeah.
What's the hardest set you've ever done in training? And I'm sure there's
hardest set I've ever done in training. At school years ago. Joel used to give us at Millfield a session every year called Big Friday, and it'd be like 1500s, and it'd be like just swimming aerobically, and the last like one or two would turn into 3100s, best average kind of stuff. So that was a long time ago, but yeah, that was quite tasty. But yeah, there was another one we did as well, and it was like the year of 2012, and from September to 2 weeks before taper for trials, the London trials. It was a Monday evening, and it was 6 200s best average. The following Monday, it was 7. Then it was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then back down to 6. So that was like every Monday. So that wasn't very nice. But it was good. But it worked. But yeah, that was really hard mentally.
They're from a while ago. They've got to be pretty ingrained in you at this point to remember those.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I mean, they're ones I'll just never forget. Yeah.
PTSD kind of level.
Literally PTSD. Yeah.
And final question, get to know you away from a swimming pool. If you go on a road trip, there's 3 spaces in the car. You can take friends, family, celebrities, anyone you want. Who would you take with you?
I'd take my missus, Courtney. I would take... God, who would I take? Take my brother, and I'd take my dog. That'd be it.
Nice. Good stuff.
Dog. It's always hard to have a dog in there.
Yeah. I've got
He's got to come. He's got to come wherever we go. Yeah.
There's plenty of dogs in swimming people's cars. Absolutely. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for giving up some of your time this evening. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's always great watching you race, and congratulations on amazing British champs, and best of luck this summer at Paris.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, can't see honestly, I think that 4x2 relay has a great chance of hitting a world record. I don't want to jinx it, but we've got a good chance.
We don't mention that, unfortunately.
No, we didn't bring it up.
No, we'll cut that quickly.
We said that to, I think Douglas said it a while ago. We said we wanted to do this. He was like, no, we didn't. This was ages ago. We don't really bring it up. We just try to do the best things we can, and the result will come. That's what we've always said. So hopefully it'll come.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, James, and we'll see you soon.
Cool.
Dan, we usually get 30, 40, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour with some amazing swimmers around this country. We never take it for granted. And I really hope people don't take for granted the episode that we've just had with Jimmy. Being able to talk openly, honestly, about his performances at trials, what went right, what went wrong. There's so many lessons there that young swimmers can take away from the sport of swimming, thanks to one of British swimming's best ever.
Do you know what one big takeaway for me is that because he's been swimming for best part of a decade, 12 years or so, and he can list off every year and how fast he swam all of his events. It's incredible the detail he goes into. He remembers everything. I think that's probably a lesson to be learned here. To go into detail, and he clearly loves the sport.
Oh yeah,
and that's the reason why he's been doing it for so long.
Well, you heard how he ended the podcast, basically giving advice for everyone that enjoyment is key. And even before that 200 free final, which was tense, he wasn't on the team yet. There were other swimmers there who weren't on the team yet. Everyone's gunning for that 4x2 relay. And he was just like, well, we were chatting. We were having fun. We were joking around. there's an enjoyment aspect that sometimes, and very often actually, gets lost when it comes to the elite end of the sport.
Yes, it's also trusting the process as well. He's obviously made the move to Millfield. It wasn't a risk from what he was saying, and based on it, it clearly works, obviously. His move with training with Ryan, and obviously he's talking about Ewan as well. That's clearly worked. And yes, it is all about enjoyment, but trusting your support network of coaches and parents. And he said he doesn't actually train with Matt. They're under the same umbrella of Millfield.
That doesn't surprise me. Like,
no, well, they're two different swimmers, aren't they?
I was going to say, for some reason, Matt is the thoroughbred sprinter of the two. He we've seen what he does in the 50, the 100.
Yep.
Those are incredibly strong events. In fact, he might not be the only swimmer anymore. I think Millak's done it, but he's the only swimmer to go sub 22, sub 48, sub 145.
Yep.
Like that's Matt's training, whereas Jimmy's background is the 400. Like he has always been an incredible 400 freestyler, and that is almost a shame that that's no longer in his schedule. But obviously the world is nuts at that event. I still think he could do a job, like given a final, because when it comes to the Olympics, actually the 4-3 isn't about the time. It's always about the race.
It's just the race.
Who do you want in the race? Well, Jimmy Guy.
You pick that guy, don't you? Obviously.
But no, that didn't surprise me whatsoever to hear that they're on completely different paths.
No, but I think to your average, let's say, age grouper, because they swim at the same place, you just assume that they're doing the sessions back to back, and they're doing it at the same time. But of course, at that level, it is very individualized, obviously. But very happy that he came on and gave his thoughts on everything, especially the 100 fly. So it doesn't always go his way. No. And he was very open and honest on that 100 fly, that it just didn't work out for him on that time because he took it out too hard, or he was a little bit too tense on the first 15 and had nothing on the way back. I really appreciate his honesty on that one.
So that just about rounds up our chat from this week's podcast. I want to finish this week by saying a massive thank you to everyone who acted upon our call for action last week, which is just incredible. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, we said we are striving ahead of the Olympics to get to 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast, so that we can monetize it a little bit. We've been doing this for 4+ years now.
Yeah, can you believe
our wives are incredibly patient with us.
Yeah, bless them.
And for everyone who went over there and subscribed, we owe you guys a massive thank you. The number has gone up significantly. We're not at the 1,000 mark yet, so if you do enjoy this podcast, if you're fans of Propulsion Swimming, head over there, subscribe. I know a few people contacted us and didn't realize we actually have 2 YouTube channels. We separated out the podcast a little while ago so that it has its own place to grow, and it's very different from the other content we put out on our main channel. But yes, thank you for everyone who has subscribed. Me and Dan, we're going to be back in 1 week's time, as we always are, on a Thursday. We've got another fantastic guest lined up for you guys, another swimmer who is going to the Olympics. So they're big conversations over the next few weeks, and we can't wait for you all to listen to them, essentially. We love doing this.
Yeah, we're not very good at self-promoting, I think.
No, we're dreadful.
This is where the whole difference in 2 YouTube channels has come about. But thank you again, like Scott said, to everyone who has subscribed. I'm very much looking forward to another Olympic guest next week.
Good. Very good story with the next one as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So that just about rounds up this week's podcast. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And me and Dan will be back, like we said, in 1 week's time.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.